biggest news this week was about the Terrence Crawford taking the title, not paying sanctioning fees. What do you think about that? A lot of fans are like divided on that. What do you think?
I see both ways. I see the WBC, I see Terrence. They both right, to be honest.
Why both right?
They both right in their own ways.
Danny Garcia has lived every layer of the boxing business, from winning world titles to paying the steep, hidden costs that come with them. Now he's weighing in on the firestorm surrounding Terrence Crawford's refusal to pay the WBC sanctioning fees. And his take isn't predictable. As fans argue over whether Crawford is a pioneer or a problem, Garcia is highlighting the brutal truth. Championship gold comes with a six-figure tax that never stops. For Garcia, this isn't some headline to react to, it's a financial burden he's carried for years, and he's finally exposing how millions disappear long before a fighter even steps into the ring.
Your career, have you ever had a moment where you had to pay one of these sanctioning fees?
Believe it or not, I pay millions in sanction fees. Six figures every time.
Most fighters are terrified to criticize the sanctioning bodies. Speak out against the WBC or WBA, and you can drop in the rankings, losing your shot at a title and the payday attached to it. That's exactly why Danny Garcia's interview with Fight Hub TV was so striking. He didn't dodge the topic and he didn't chase a trendy opinion either. When pressed about the week's biggest controversy, Garcia leaned back and offered the most honest breakdown we've heard yet. I see both ways. They're both right, to be honest. It sounds neutral at first, but as he continued, it became clear he wasn't protecting the organizations. He was exposing the hidden math behind being a champion. Garcia isn't a bystander here. He's been through the system, fought the elite, and dealt with the letters demanding their percentage before he even hits the scale. His perspective shifts the debate from Crawford is overreacting to, is this really just how boxing works?
Well, I mean, it was the right amount for what I got paid. You feel me? He made so much, so it was like a cap. You can't take out a certain percentage if you're making 50 million. That's crazy.
Like I said, like fans are
like I said, they both right though. Because he wasn't ranked at 168, but they gave him the opportunity. So they're like, we gave you the opportunity. But he's like, yo, just because I'm making all this money, you can't take all that. So they both right, they really are.
We see the cars, the jewelry, the huge purses, but we never see the deductions. In the interview, Garcia got brutally transparent about his finances. He revealed that over the course of his career, he's paid millions in sanctioning fees. Millions earned through punishment and risk, handed to organizations in exchange for the privilege of holding a belt. That jazz adds up, Garcia admitted, explaining that every title fight costs him six figures. Standard fees run from 2% to 3% of a fighter's purse. If you're making $50,000, that's manageable. But when you're Crawford or Canelo, that percentage becomes outrageous. Garcia proposed the obvious fix, a cap. If a fighter earns $50 million, the sanctioning body shouldn't be entitled to millions for a rubber stamp. A flat maximum would honor the system without gutting the athlete. Logical, yes, but logic rarely drives boxing politics. The WBC believes their percentage is non-negotiable, zeros and all.
Where Terrence Crawford was stripped of his titles because he didn't pay a fee back to the World Boxing Confederation or whatever it is for $300,000. So they stripped his title because he didn't pay them that amount of cash afterwards. And so he's not the champion because he didn't pay them. They stripped him, whatever the case. It seems like really odd timing that this news gets released right now when tomorrow, I believe, there is a conversation happening in Congress about a little bit of an evolution of this or a revival of this particular act. And I know Zuffa is a massive piece of this, but you're not the only ones. There's a lot of boxers that are backing this. There's a lot of people in the boxing business that are backing it. There are retractors, obviously. Can you tell me about what you guys are trying to do and why people would not want you to do it that are in the boxing world?
Of course. So first of all, on the Terrence Crawford side, you watched that fight on Netflix on effort against Canelo, who also had an amazing effort. Terrence Crawford unanimously won that championship. So how in fact is it 2.5 months later that he's no longer the champion of the World Boxing Confederation because he didn't pay a fee? That would be akin to the Los Angeles Dodgers, whether you're a Dodger fan or not, having won a grueling 7-game World Series in one of the greatest Game 7s of all time. It would be like if Major League Baseball came to them and said, well, you didn't pay us a fee, so you're no longer the World Series champion. It's only in this sport of boxing where you see nonsense.
While Garcia calmly broke down the economics, Terrence Crawford chose total scorched earth. If Garcia is the diplomat, Crawford is the revolutionary. After being stripped, Crawford jumped on Instagram and Twitter with a message that's already echoing across the sport. No press release, no PR-filtered statement, just a raw, unfiltered eruption.
Mauricio, you know, got a lot to say about me not paying him $300,000 plus another $100K something for sanction fees, right? Then he gonna tell me I ain't even apologize. Like, who the fuck you think I am? Boy, you better slap your fucking self. Ain't paying your ass shit. Fuck you talking about pay you $300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanction bodies? Huh? Answer that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA? Everybody accepted what I was giving them. But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit. The fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about? You want me to pay you more than the other sanction bodies because you feel like you better than them. How in the world all the sanction bodies agreed to the same amount, but you sit your motherfucking ass up there and say that I need to apologize to you? The fuck? You can take the fucking belt.
Go __ yourself, Crawford told the WBC, making it clear he wasn't paying a cent more than he believed was fair. He explained that he had already offered $180,000, similar to what he pays other bodies like the WBA, but the WBC wanted more, reportedly basing their fee on his enormous earnings from the Canelo and Madrimov fights.
He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route, no response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great, it's about greatness, and I'm relieved to tell you.
And he didn't stop there. Crawford stripped the belt of its prestige entirely. He called the WBC title a trophy and said the only championship that truly matters is the Ring Magazine belt, because it's free. That was a declaration of war. Crawford is essentially saying his name is bigger than any sanctioning body. He's betting that fans will tune in regardless of what belts he does or doesn't carry.
It's free! It's free! How you love that? $180,000 free. How much your belt cost? I wonder, how much your belt cost? Huh? I don't see no receipts on your belt. It's crazy. Y'all be having so much taxes on these belts. You got some nerves. It's crazy that you can sit up there and have all these belts. You know, you got the WBC silver, the WBA intern, the whatever belt y'all got, and you taxing these fighters every time they fight, and you claim that you for these fighters. You're not for these fighters. You probably worse than the promoters. But hey, I wish you the best. You know?
A move this disruptive was guaranteed to irritate the old guard. Enter Oscar de la Hoya. The Golden Boy, now a seasoned promoter, didn't view Crawford's stance as noble. He saw it as arrogant. In a video that circulated quickly, de la Hoya voiced his disappointment, accusing Crawford of disrespecting the sport that made him wealthy. Oscar's criticism was sharp. Did he forget where he came from? He suggested Crawford's late career mega paydays had inflated his ego beyond reason.
How do you think you rose to that level? Through the ranking system. You get positioned to make that kind of money. I mean, come on, you're 38 years old. You've been paying sanctioning fees for a long time in the past. There's nothing new here. It's nothing groundbreaking. You had no problem when they were ranking you to fucking fight Canelo. It's like my agent getting me a huge movie and he's asking for his 10% commission of all the work he put in. And then I tell him, you know what? Go fuck yourself. How fair is that? I've heard Crawford say many times that he loves the belts, but suddenly the WBC is the enemy and the ring belt is the only one that matters? I mean, seriously, Suleiman has to be rolling in his grave. Literally. I mean, it sounds like you're reading a script or something. Come on, you've been the ring mouthpiece and the chosen one since they came on board 2 years ago. We all know that. I mean, it looks like that monopoly money really got to your head.
To De La Hoya, paying sanctioning fees is part of the tradition, part of building legacy. Tossing the belt aside, he argued, is spitting on boxing's history. So the debate becomes, is Crawford a greedy star who forgot his roots, as Oscar claims? Or is he finally confronting a system that has exploited fighters for decades? This is where Danny Garcia's nuance becomes essential. Remember his line, "They are both right." Why would someone who's paid millions defend the very system charging him? Garcia explained it clearly, the WBC gave him opportunity. It's uncomfortable but true. Before Crawford was a $50 million attraction, he was a contender. The sanctioning bodies gave him rankings, mandatories, chances. Without that structure, Crawford might never have risen high enough to fight someone like Canelo.
And brother, just real quick, what do you think about TC and the WBC, him going after, kind of complaining about the sanctioning fees, things like that?
And honestly, bro, and I'm a fighter, right? So I have to pay sanctioning fees and stuff like that. From my understanding, I heard it was from like past fights. But regardless of everything, you wouldn't be undisputed, you wouldn't get all this stuff without the belts, but also the fighters wouldn't, you wouldn't exist without the fighters, But like I said, I heard it was from past fights, so you gotta pay what you owe, man. But I don't know, man. I don't really know what's going on with that.
It's a symbiotic relationship. Fighters need the belts to grow their value, and the organizations need fighters to fund their existence. Garcia acknowledges that the WBC helped build Crawford's platform. But at what point does the fighter outgrow the system? Garcia believes there's middle ground, but neither side is willing to meet there. And this standoff may signal something far more threatening to boxing than one stripped title. Could be the beginning of the end of the belt era. Because behind the scenes, whispers are growing louder, talk of new leagues, new structures, and Dana White eyeing the boxing landscape.
So right now, my plan is to get in and I always talk about USA's Tuesday nights. I was a big fights. I was a big fan, and a lot of the things that I did in growing the UFC, the sport and the brand, all the things I liked about boxing and all the things I didn't like about boxing. I want to get in there and start putting together fights with not only up and coming guys and people that we think could be future stars, but it's sort of morphing into also putting on fights with some of the biggest stars in the world.
Sure. I talked about how Zuffa Boxing is only going to recognize Ring Magazine belts on this show as the championship. But I think about baseball, right? You have AAA, and then you have the major leagues. And I know you're very into the development of fighters. That's what you really geek out on your contender series, right? So while I love the fact that you're not recognizing the sanctioning bodies, just the Ring Magazine belt as the world championship, but in AAA, you do have a national championship, right? And then it's not the World Series, but is there going to be a Zuffa belt where the winner of the Zuffa belt has a springboard into Riyadh season and a championship fight, a Ring Magazine fight?
You and I have never talked about this, but the answer is yes.
Right, of course.
What will happen?
Of course, yes. Right.
There will be a Zuffa belt, and then there will be a ring belt, and yes, I will not recognize any of the other sanctioning bodies.
If megastars like Canelo and Crawford decide they don't need the WBC, WBA, IBF, or WBO to sell fights, the entire model collapses. When Crawford praised the ring belt, he wasn't being poetic, he was drawing a line. Fans on Twitter and Reddit are already asking the real question. Does a great fight need a belt? If Crawford fights the top contender with no title on the line, millions will still watch. And the sanctioning bodies know this, which is why their pushback was so swift. They're not fighting for $300,000, they're fighting for survival. If Garcia's proposed cap isn't adopted, we may see elite fighters walk away from the alphabet organizations entirely.
So I do think the organizations, the sanctioning bodies, have to be a sort of necessary evil, but deals have to come to the table when you're talking about this kind of money, because like Crawford said, he's the one risking his life, he's the one taking the punches. The Ring Magazine title is free, it's the one you don't have to pay for, but it also has no power. There's no fights that are ever enforced by the Ring title. You know, you can't, the Ring, that was always my problem with the Ring title, when even in the days when HBO used to push it and stop mentioning sanctioning bodies by name and all, there was a push in the boxing media. That's why if you notice that era of fighters, in the Mayweather era, there wasn't a lot of undisputed champions. It was because the fad of the day, because that's what boxing is, it's just the latest fad. That's what they go by. Today it's just cool, tomorrow something else is cool. Back then it was uncool to go for the sanctioning body, so you didn't see a lot of undisputed champions at that time. Now the sanctioning bodies have become cool again, so you see more fighters unifying and looking to create undisputed titles. At that time, I remember HBO, ESPN, even with Friday Night Fights, they wouldn't mention the sanctioning bodies by name. They would just go by the Ring Magazine title. And my problem was the Ring Magazine title had no power. You know, it was cool to have, but you could never enforce a 1 and 2 first fight. There was no way to enforce it. And what's worse is they wouldn't strip. They'd never strip if the main guy at the top never fought the number 1 or number 2 guys, you know. So or if you wanted to take a year off and not defend the title at all, they just wouldn't strip them. I think the Ring title also is problematic, even if it's free, you know. So like I said, I think there's got to be a middle ground where, you know, people have to know how to meet in the middle, and sometimes egos get in the way, and sometimes greed gets in the way.
So who won this round? Danny Garcia may have delivered the most balanced view. He exposed the crushing reality of six-figure fees while acknowledging that, for all their flaws, the sanctioning bodies helped shape the stars we watch today. His call for a cap is the only realistic fix in a sport where purses have exploded. Crawford made his choice, he kept his money and lost his belt, betting on his own name instead of the system. Whether this sparks a revolution or just leaves him with fewer trophies remains uncertain. But one thing is clear, the next time you see a fighter hoisting 4 belts, remember, those titles aren't just heavy. They're unbelievably expensive to keep. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed the breakdown, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss what's next. Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.